How's it going, everybody? So I had an amazing trading day. Now, it wasn't as easy as it's going to look after this trade recap because I had some major internet issues while it was all going on. Took a bit of a risk taking the arm trade, but in my opinion, it was an A+ setup, so it was worth swinging the bat regardless of all the details that were going on behind the scenes. So I know that I said that with the NVIDIA split, I'm no longer going to be trading options on NVIDIA. And from here on out, most of the time, I'm going to be trading shares. But when there is an A+ setup and it's on a name that has high volume and the options trade well, I will trade options and I will size up on options because I want that leverage. I want to swing the bat on my A+ setups, and that is exactly what I did today on ARM. So it was a very good outcome, which is great because not every outcome is going to be positive. But it was a good setup and I took advantage of it. So what setup was it? It was the exhaustion capitulation gap reversal. I know that I said I'm making minor adjustments in the market after the NVIDIA split. I talked about the intraday breaking news setup. I've talked about the tight daily consolidation setup. And this is going to be an example of the exhaustion capitulation gap reversal setup. And I want to go over all the technicals today. So here's the P&L on the day. And to be honest, the first few trades, I got a little chopped up. I decided to try arm long once it squeezed because I thought maybe it's not ready to have that gap up capitulation reversal. So I hopped on board for a possible squeeze, started to pull back, got out of it. And then I even tried Apple a little bit. And Apple daily chart just wasn't doing what I normally like for stocks to be doing. So it shows that whenever I focus on stuff that's just really not in play or the daily chart doesn't look great, Apple was right in its prior day range. I was just trying to scalp the price action. And in a low VIX environment, it can be a little choppy. So I got chopped up on Apple, took a loss on ARM, and then I just backed off, and then ARM set up. So it had the setup initially that I was looking for. It just took a little bit off the open. So not being so rushed off the open is something that I could be better at. But here's the P&L on the day to prove that I actually took the trade. I'm not just talking about these setups in theory. I ended up trading the 155 puts when ARM started to break down. I took 50 of them, got a very nice drop, and then immediately got out. So took advantage of that alpha, that quick volatile move, and clipped off $6,186 on the trade, which is fantastic. So this is what I see on the daily chart. Look at ARM getting extended, a little too far, a little too fast. And then especially on this candle, the 12th, really big wide range candle. So feels like it's starting to get a little extended. It was just under all-time high, but I was trying not to overthink it. We ended up having the gap up in pre-market. So it was setting up perfect. 3 green days in a row. You get the gap up day 4. And now I'm just waiting for some sort of stuff move and then a rollover. Now, sometimes these things can go 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row. But what I am looking for is I'm looking for that day 4, day 5 gap up. And then I'm waiting for that failure. So it looks like it's going to continue. And then there is some sort of aggressive failure. And then it starts to roll over all the way back to the lows. And then it takes out a lot of price action to the downside. And it does a green to red move. And that is the spot that I want to short it. And this can also work the other way, vice versa. If you flip ARM upside down, if this had 3, 4, 5 red days in a row, and then it has that next day gap down, which feels like it's just capitulation, and then it reverses, I wouldn't mind trying the long on it too if it went red to green on the day. But this is a setup that went green to red, so it was a short setup. So as far as the open, I'm looking at a 2-minute chart. That is my favorite time frame. So we had a little bit of a pullback. It was green on the day, so slight gap up, and then it actually squeezed over the highs. I tried a long because I thought maybe this wants to continue to go, and it could get to all-time high, which is 164. So I tried the long, and then it pulled back, and I got out of the way. It did make a new intraday high, but I just wasn't paying attention to it. I'm like, let this thing do what it's got to do. It was a lot of green candles at high a day. If it wants to make a new all-time high, it will get there, and it will have some sort of consolidation. Consolidation is the key. There was not a lot of consolidation. We had the push, new high, and then immediately failed. So I started to see the failure here, and I went, okay, if this can pull back, consolidate, and it breaks the lows, and it goes green to red on the day, and essentially breaks 155.50, kind of the line in the sand, then I'm looking for a green to red move. And being that it's day 4 gap up, I think it could pull back. Now, as far as how much, I don't know. But I'm just taking advantage of that quick reaction. And especially when I'm trading options on a name like this, that pop in premium, I'm always going to take profits. And this was an A+ setup, so I sized up on options to get the leverage. So just looking at the setups here, you get a failed new high. You get that breakout that I'm sure some people chased into, which I can be guilty of doing the same thing, catches some people off sides, fails to break out, and then just starts to leak out. And the part that I like about this setup the most is the consolidation. So you have the low a day, but then look at this consolidation here. So it's not like it just went from high a day to low a day immediately. It had a chance to bounce a couple times, maybe catch new longs off sides again, and then it just continuously leaks out. And this is the 2-minute candle that I'm such a fan of. When it breaks those lows, knowing that the green to red move is right there, that's the spot that I like. So right there, taking the break, going for that new low a day because it's very extended on the daily chart. So just looking for that reversal. Stop would have been above the candle that I got in on, so not too far away. And this is such a good setup because when it works instantaneously. It's just that volatility and the volume, and you got players caught on one side, you got profit taking, the whole thing. It's the stairs up and the elevator down, even if it's only short-lived. And I'm just trying to ride that elevator for a very quick move and then take profits in that move. So we end up getting the break of the lows. So that is the spot that I like. So once we ended up cracking that 156, I ended up taking the 155 puts, so the strike just out of the money. I took 50 of them, like I mentioned before. We get the drop. We get that red candle close weak, and it also closed red on the day. And then the next candle makes a new low, and it just starts to accelerate to the downside. And that is a big move. Anytime I get a move like that, I'm not going to be greedy. Just take profits. If it goes lower, so what? So when this got below 152 and just kind of flashed below it, I ended up just selling really quick because I saw that I got a very nice move on the contracts, and that is exactly what I'm looking for. Those short-term scalps at the right spots when the daily chart looks a very specific way, and when it clears out those technical levels, a lot of times there is that immediate reaction, and it's the quick scalp trade where you're instantly in the money, and then I'm just protecting the entry. And when I see those contracts really pop as far as the premiums in my favor, I'm always going to scalp out. And that's what I did, and it worked out great. Getting a little chopped up on the first few trades, waiting for the A+ setup, sizing up on the A+ setup, and making $6,100, which is amazing. And that's a trade recap of one of my favorite setups, the day 4 gap up, capitulation reversal, and then going green to red on the day breakdown. Appreciate you watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.